it really is. Okay, got the recording in progress. And so that's been a really good project for us, and we finally had the big open house at the end of the summer, and everything else as everybody was preparing for their start of the school year. And I know it's been tough on everybody with drivers and technicians and everything else. We've been very fortunate, and it's been a tough market for all of us. It's been a very tough market, but we've been able to increase our staffing with a new service manager here in Boston Spa, as well as throughout the state, getting new techs and techs that are with us, trained not only in the diesel market for both the DD5 and the Detroit engine and Cummins and with Allison transmission, but we've also had a lot of training with for our techs and our staff with the electric vehicles, because we have been very fortunate to be able to sell several electric vehicles throughout the state, one being in the Capital District. Bethlehem was the first out there to join the forces of the new technology that's out there. So and a lot of our technicians have been trained. There's several levels of training that need to be done, and as we approach the delivery season for those, we will be out there helping the school districts that have purchased train their staff, because you do have to be trained not only to drive it, but especially to work on it because of the high voltage that's needed for these buses. So that's pretty much all I need to I have to offer right now, because I don't want to take anybody else's time away from what you're doing today, and the presentation on PowerPoints for specific product information and all that stuff. We have the type A's and the type C's and the type D's, and if anybody, first off, thank you for the customers that do purchase from us, that we have delivered. For those that haven't had delivery yet, we are winding down, hopefully within the next month or so, to get these deliveries done. And for those that have yet to order, everybody's facing the time frame with the factories to get their buses done before the end of summer, and unfortunately the factories are just flat out right now, and deliveries are well past summer right now. So we need to talk. If you haven't delivered yet or haven't ordered yet, and if those that want to see any new products, please feel free to contact me or someone at Mathews, and we'll have to come out and show you what we got. So, but on that note, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, the time for everybody to be together with their families and their loved ones. And, it's nice to just be able to relax for a couple of days and digest for a few days, and, enjoy the leftovers. So hope everybody has a great holiday, and we'll talk to you soon. So thank you.
Hey, Pete, before you step off, has Inholt reached out to you from our garage yet? Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Okay, just want to make sure you get on the calendar.
And, yeah, we're looking for mid-December.
Okay, great.
Okay, and
He's not back till the 20th, so.
Oh, okay. I thought it was okay. So it's the 20th. It's not.
Yeah, his first day back. He leaves tomorrow for 4 weeks for the reserve, so he'll be back in the office on the 20th.
Okay, I'll make a note of that, and we will try to schedule something to come out and hang out with you guys for a little bit. So
okay.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Hey, Pete, does your body shop have a frame machine there?
Not yet, but they're working on it.
It would be nice if we could do alignments and stuff on the smaller buses.
The alignments on the smaller buses right now, especially if it's coming through from the factory, we have been taking them to the GM dealer or whatever dealer the chassis is made from, and having the alignments done there at the dealerships. But for frame straightening and stuff like that, we are looking at getting a frame machine in the new location out in Avon. So that is in the works right now. So,
well, that's what I was wondering about the frame machine, because we had an accident and we waited 6 months for it to get onto a frame machine.
Yeah, they're working on that right now. We haven't had any incidences to require a frame machine. If we did, we would take it to a local shop out in the Avon area and then just have them straighten the frame out, and then we would continue with the rest of the body work. But we are working. I know John Metzler is working on getting a frame straightener out there. So it's on the list.
Nice.
Well,
It
thanks,
will be.
Pete. Appreciate you taking your time today.
No problem,
You
Jerry.
just, I don't know if you're going to sign off, but I just wanted to.
No,
just-
I'm not. I'm gonna be here. I'm staying on.
Okay. Well, I just started. So our next meeting is going to be December 16th, everybody, and it's an in-person meeting at the firehouse. We'll get details out on that. I'll also talk to Belinda about putting out an RSVP, whether you're going to be in person or remote, so we can try and get a head count. But hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of you guys at the next meeting in person. So I just want to make sure everybody knew about that. So thank you, Pete. We'll go on to the next Dan. We're going to go on. Dan Boyer will talk to us about fleet maintenance.
Okay. We share a screen here. Okay, can everybody see that? All right. I'm going to start right from the beginning here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Boyer. I'm the senior automotive repairer here at Shenandoah Central School District. I'm also the president of the Capital District Head Mechanics Association. So we provide a lot of training through Leonard and Mathews. And when he was just speaking about the electric buses, that's going to be actually our next presentation. It's going to be actually from Mathews, and it's going to be on the electric, working with the high voltage. I have over 20 years experience in fleet maintenance and operation. I'm a 19A certified examiner, and I'm also an SPDI. So I usually get to do the Know Your Bus portion of the 30-hour course. So the other day when Belinda asked me if I could put together a presentation for this the organization here, of course I said yes right away. Then I found out it was today that it was due.
Sounds good.
So,
Already?
but no big deal. We got it all done. But what I was trying to think about a topic that would work for all of us, something that we're all dealing with. And right now with the driver shortage and our mechanics are driving, which means that the schedule of day-to-day work, the PMs, the oil changes and stuff, it's getting more difficult to do just the regular jobs that have to be done because of the fewer people that we have in the shop on the floor. So the other important thing is when we do get drivers, and we have a lot of people in training to become drivers, and it's important that they know, because we want to keep them. We don't want them to get their license and leave. We want them to get their license and stay and drive and actually have a good career. And I think one of the good ways that we can do this is definitely through communication. Communication is key throughout all the departments. So why is maintenance so important? I mean, maybe it's not that important. I'm just kidding. I think everybody here knows that fleet maintenance is key. And it's going to make your fleet last longer. It's going to make your fleet more reliable. So let's see what it does. It keeps the cost down, operation cost. It greatly will increase the reliability of the fleet. It keeps the shop operating efficiently, and it makes the buses look nicer around our communities, just to name a few things. So let's just talk about this for a minute. How does fleet maintenance keep the cost down? Anybody? Anybody got any ideas? How about fewer breakdowns? Fewer breakdowns, that's a big one right there. Because when a bus breaks down on the road, especially these days, like we were just discussing, it takes the mechanics out of the shop. Now, I can give you for instance here, the other day we had a bus that broke down. The driver calls in and he says the bus lost power. It's got very little power. So of course, do you have students on board? Well, yeah, he's got kids on board. So can you get this to a safe location? And he was by a decent sized parking lot. So he said, yes, I can. He pulled into the parking lot because we don't want to have to transfer the students on a busy road. So dispatch gets involved, sends another bus. I send 2 mechanics. Now we've already got 3 mechanics driving. 2 mechanics and a body shop person driving. So usually I send 2 people on a road call, and they get there. They pretty soon the bus comes back to the shop, and what it ended up being, it was not a really big deal, but it had lost communication with the TCM, the transmission control module. So it was just a connection issue. It wasn't a big deal, but it did take some time. And during that time, the work wasn't getting done in the shop. We also had people out driving. And so the whole breakdown consisted of 2 buses, 2 drivers, 2 mechanics. And that's just for the breakdown, not to mention the work that didn't get done in the garage. So fleet maintenance it greatly will reduce these kind of breakdowns. That one wasn't too bad, but we want to try to stay on top of things. So it keeps the shop running more efficiently. Just like I mentioned with that one breakdown, it keeps the mechanics on the floor. We won't have so many road calls. You won't have as many write-ups. At the end of the night, when the drivers all come back, there's an awful lot of write-ups sometimes. And a lot of it is simple stuff. So the next part that I have talks about the drivers and how we train the drivers here. So how about it makes the buses look nice as they drive around our communities? Do you think that that's an important topic with fleet maintenance? When a driver pulls up to the bus stop and the parents are there with their son or daughter, putting them on the bus, and the bus shows up and there's rust all around the entrance door, you open up the door and there's rust all over inside the step well. Not to mention there's 300 screws holding down the step tread. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. The buses are all in the public eye. They drive around the community. They're a representation of our district. And I think it's really important that we keep up on them. If it needs a step tread, put a step tread in it. Take care of your wheel wells. You keep the bus looking nice. This is going to make the bus last longer. You won't have that step tread or the step well rot out if you have treated it and taken care of the rust before you ended up having to put a ton of screws in just to hold the step tread down so that it will pass the DOT inspection. So the other thing that all this is going to do is it's going to help keep drivers. So the drivers want to have, they don't want to drive a bus that's going to break down a lot. They want to have a nicer, at least a well-kept bus. That doesn't mean it has to be a new bus. It's just, maintenance is going to make this all happen. So the parts department, these days, things are a little bit different. It's not so easy to get the parts that we need all the time. The last thing that we want is to have a bus out of service because it needs brakes and we can't get brakes. So during this time when parts are so difficult, well, can be so difficult to get, we might want to stock up on commonly used parts. Now, I wouldn't go stock up on all kinds of parts, but like brake drums, if you have a standardized fleet and the brake drums will fit all of your buses and they're not going to go bad. So you're going to use them eventually. So if you had the opportunity to purchase an extra pallet of brake drums, it would, in my mind, it would be a wise decision to do. We just purchased 30 steer tires. We don't need 30 steer tires at the moment, but last week we couldn't get steer tires. Now, luckily we had steer tires that we used, but it's just a sign of the times to come, I think, that these parts are going to be harder to get. So, I mean, you're going to use tires. They're not going to go bad. So if you can, and again, this is just during this time when it's hard to get the products that we need. It's a good idea to stock up a little bit on some of these parts. So you kind of plan for the future here. You buy it when you can, not when you absolutely have to. The other thing that I've noticed is like some places will have that old pallet of brake drums or seat foams or whatever it is that doesn't even fit anything in the shop that in your fleet any longer. It's just sitting in the back room somewhere. A lot of times you can return those parts for either parts value, just trading them in against new parts. If they won't take them back, you might have to sell them and use the money for the parts that'll fit the buses that you have now. So things like brake shoes, batteries. We're coming into wintertime. We're going to be going through some batteries. We try to test all of our batteries during every PM so that when wintertime comes, we're not slammed with a bunch of batteries and no starts, the first cold snap. But it's a good idea to stock up on some batteries. Lights, seat foams. A while ago, we couldn't get seat foam. So we have some now, but it's just, you have to keep up on this stuff while you can get it. Okay, and now we're with the drivers. Drivers in the maintenance department. Now, you have to remember that a lot of these drivers, especially new drivers, the biggest thing that they've driven is maybe a SUV or a van. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're training drivers. Things that we might take for granted and we're just so used to it, they are not. So I always make it a point to keep drivers informed. I encourage them to question me, to question everything. Don't let any questions go unanswered. And I mean, you can ask around, you can talk to other drivers. There's a wealth of knowledge around, but come and find me or ask a question. If something is not sure, you're not sure about something, how it works, we're going to keep the drivers informed. We also want to keep the drivers comfortable. Now that doesn't mean that the driver is going to get his bus every day. What it means is we want the drivers to be comfortable asking questions, not, well, I don't want to be made fun of, or I don't want to, this is a stupid question, I'm not going to ask it. The next thing you know, they're down in Albany with a wheelchair lift that's down and they can't get up. And they don't know how it works because they didn't ask a question. They didn't check it out beforehand. So we want to definitely make sure that the drivers understand how their bus works before they take the bus on the road. So we want them to feel comfortable asking questions. We want to build a good relationship with the drivers and with dispatch and with the maintenance department. So we all have to work together. So some little issues that the drivers will find can become big issues really fast, big expensive issues. And an example of that would be a driver pulls up to the garage and says after his run, and says, hey, there's a sound coming from my front right wheel. And it's a squeaking sound. And if my attitude was, hey, you know what, we're busy. It's probably just the dust shield. It happens all the time. These are big buses. They make sounds. Park it and drive it. And then later on in the day, when the bus goes down the road, and they break down, of course, buses on the side of the road, if not in the road, and it's a little spring. One of the return springs came loose, wedged itself between the brake. That was the sound that the driver heard. But now the wheel's locked up, and it's in the middle of a busy road, students on board. We've got to move the kids from one bus to another, and you're back to having 2 more mechanics out of the shop again. So these little issues can become big, expensive issues really quickly. And the driver kind of heard that. They drive the bus every day, so they know how their bus operates, and they know the sounds that it makes and how it works. And they also know that something was different that day. So, and again, that didn't happen here at Shenandoah, but it's something that could happen. So this is one of the reasons that I always encourage the drivers to come and speak with me. If you don't know how to write something up, or maybe they don't know that they need to write it up, they come up and they say, you know, I don't even know if I need to write this up, excuse me, but something's different. It just doesn't feel right. And I take every one of these things seriously, because that's how you keep the fleet on the road and not, you know, broke down waiting for parts that you might not even be able to get. So it's important to have the drivers feel really comfortable dealing with us. So how do we build this relationship with the drivers? Yep. I skip forward. And this is something that I do with the new drivers when they're coming into the shop. Can everybody see this? All right, we ready? All right, my name's Dan. I'm the head mechanic here. So we're just gonna go over some of the common questions that you guys might have with this bus. Can everybody see that? Yes, you can see it? Okay. I couldn't see you guys. Hey. And as you're driving, you can always stop out in the garage. I'm in the hallway, you know, answer any questions that you guys might have. Now, there are 8 drivers right there. We'll start over here. You come over this way. Now, you guys have any part of your license yet? Or you're going for the road test? I hear there's a mix. Yeah. So I know some of the things that they're going to want you to know is this is your steering box. This is your steering shaft. You have a pitman arm, drag length. And when we get it up in the air, we'll go over the rest of the stuff underneath. But that's what's right here. Now you'll look at, when you're doing your pre-trip, you'll look for any kind of leaks, any filters that are wet. You know, you'll see your radiator. You don't have to crawl all over the bus, but you should know, you know, what you're looking for here. We've got your air compressor, which is back here. That's what creates all the air pressure for the bus. Attached to that is the governor. That's this little piece here. So that's what tells it when to start building air. And once we get this up in the air, we'll go over that a little bit more. But you have your coolant reservoir. This is an auxiliary pump, which will help out in the wintertime to help circulate the coolant around the much larger system in the back. We'll go over to the other side. Yeah, and we can, and you can get in, you can. Okay, on this side, we've got your air filter up here, put your washer fluid. You got a slack adjuster right here at your brake. They're gonna want you to know about the cotter pins. These are clevis pins that hold the air, they attach the air chamber to the slack adjuster. So when this fills with air, and we'll go over that here in a minute, it pushes this out. It turns it to a mechanical power and puts the brake on with your S-cam and stuff. And actually, I've got a demonstration on that as well. But as you're doing your pre-trip, you look at your belt, you look at your hoses. Just, you don't have to really be a mechanic, but you should just look around. You got your turbocharger right here.
Is that on all buses?
Most of the ones that we have pretty much have Now- turbo. So now I'm not gonna play this whole thing because it's really long, but we'll play a little bit of the different things. Hey guys, if you see the inside of that tire is all covered with oil, you have a leak from the seal, the cap on the outside. See how that one's kind of wet? This is okay. It's got a vent right there. These are oil cooled or oil lubricated. So this has a little cap in it. It will weep. So this is okay. But if the backside is wet, it's not okay. And you're going to want to let us know. Same thing in the back. When you're walking around, you get down, you can, while we're going, we'll pick it back up. So I'll just play a little bit more of this. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. Kind of weird when you do find one that steel that would leak, causing the inside of the tire to be wet. Pivot arm and spindle. And that pretty much wraps up the steering under brakes on. You got a clevis pin. You see your brakes are nice and dry. We will get that. Leaf spring over here, you got your U-bolts. They hold the leaf springs to the axle. Then from under here, you can see this piece right here. There is just so the range is between 90 pounds and 120. Anywhere in between there, it's not going to move. So, and that's the governor that controls that. So moving back, what control? So this is the kind of stuff that we do so that the drivers are more comfortable when they're driving their bus. They know about the sounds. They know about the air pressures. They know how it's supposed to work. And they'll also know when something's not right. So this is actually 3 tanks, a wet tank, a secondary, and a primary. From there, it comes back. Now we're into the brake system. And it goes to your, we'll go over that. And that turns, the parking brake is released with that valve, the dash valve.
You never check that, do you?
Here and actually look. Foot brake. Yeah, that comes on, stops the wheel. We can't turn it. Release. Foot brake. Release. Simulated an air leak. Just lost one air tank.
Yeah.
Didn't even activate.
Right.
Because they're off the other tank. When this goes, that's gonna break on.
if a kid or somebody got into the lot at night and released the parking brake, the bus is going to roll, whether it's into the pond, into another bus, into one of their friends that are in there. Now, you'll see this spring in here is actually back further because there's almost not enough air pressure to hold that spring off. So we're just going to crack this. I want everybody to see these rear brakes while this is draining. Bring this slow. Okay, you see how they're coming on? You can hear them. So at 30 pounds, you're going to hear that. There it is. The brakes are on. This bus is going nowhere. Yes. You're still not your bus. Over at US Gas Pacific. Okay, so this is just something that we do. And again, right there at the end, when I said this is not the end, that's what we're talking about. If they have an issue with their bus, we want to know about it. If they don't understand how to use it, or they don't understand what sound is making, we're going to go over it. So if you notice, I went over the brakes and a lot of the different components, and we do this with all the drivers so that it will keep our write-ups down. Plus, well, here, let me get the PowerPoint back. We got share. Okay. So some of the benefits from a demonstration like this, you're going to have fewer write-ups. Your driver confidence is going to be boosted because the driver will feel more confident and comfortable behind the wheel. When he hears a noise, he'll feel more comfortable coming to the garage if there's an issue. So, and it opens up the lines of communication. Driver will be able to come out and actually speak to us and tell us, like I said, what they're hearing. If it's a sound, if it's just the leaf springs when they're going over a bump, or like when we were talking about the leveling valve, a lot of times the drivers will hear an air leak when they stop, and it turns out that the one wheel is in a pothole or something, and it's the leveling valve. So by going over this with them, they'll be more confident with their bus, which will result in fewer write-ups. The other thing that'll happen is, because we go over this with them, if the driver calls in and says, my bus won't start. Okay, is it in neutral? And then pretty soon they say, all right, it worked, the bus has started. Simple things like that. If they are down in Albany and, hey, my wheelchair lift doesn't work. Okay, is the parking brake on? This is a different bus than you normally drive. That bus needs to have the parking brake on. Okay, it's working now. Or is the lift all the way in? Sometimes you just have to put the lift all the way in before it will come out. So little things like that that they'll learn, and it saves a great deal of work on our part. So now, the other thing that we do is well, you remember when I mentioned that there was a, I have a video on that. This is a channel that I've set up with just simple repairs, like this one right here. Hey guys, how's it going? We've got this great job all disassembled, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to explain to you guys the operation of the brakes. Okay, so these right here is your rollers. This is your S cams. It's your S cams. See how it looks like an S. This is your slack adjuster. This is your brake can. So we'll get the side here. When you hit your brake, the air comes through this hose into your brake canister, which extends your push rod, which on your slack adjuster, which turns your S cam, which applies your brakes. And I'll demonstrate that. Foot brake. Release. So you see how that S cam turns and pushes the shoes out towards the drum. Foot brake. Release. Foot brake. Release. Foot brake. Release. Okay, and if you have any questions at all on how your brakes work, you can always stop on the garage. Hey guys, how's it going? Okay. So that's just another way that we do it. If I hear enough questions, I'll make a video on it and post it to this channel so that drivers can tune in and, they can text back, they can ask questions. It's just a newer way, I guess, of putting the information out there. And there's one more way that we do this. Okay, this is a video of an intersection. This is using a drone. And what I want to show you is towards the end of this. So I'm just going to go along slowly here. But you can see this is towards dismissal time. And it gets busier. We're getting towards where the view that I'm looking for here. Okay, right. That group of buses. Right here. Okay, so this picture right here shows where the buses are going to be parked at the afternoon. So, I mean, eventually this will all be full, this and this. So in this picture, you can see that the driver will be more comfortable, more confident. He'll know where his bus is supposed to be in the afternoon, where he's got to go. The other thing that we learned from this is we'll use this to show the drivers how, or excuse me, the mechanics, how if this bus calls in and it won't start, that means that this bus can't go, this bus can't go, this bus can't go, this bus. So all these buses are going to be late because this one is broken down. So instead of spending a lot of time trying to fix it, we pull this back out of the lineup and allow all these other buses to go. That way we just have one bus that's late instead of all the buses that are late. So let me get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so again, what can be learned from this video? And the drivers can see why they need to be there on time. I mean, you see things get pretty busy. They might want to leave a little early to get to their spot. Instead of getting tied up in traffic, they'll know where they need to be, where they need to park, and they'll know the procedure to follow if the bus won't start. And the mechanics will learn why they need to move the bus or the broke down bus out of the lineup as soon as possible to avoid the rest of the buses from being late. So some of the outcomes of this, having a good driver maintenance relationship, is that you'll have fewer write-ups, which will save a lot of time, and the mechanics can keep working on their day-to-day work. You'll have a more efficient operation, whether it's switching out buses or holding work for the next day. It'll be a more efficient operation, less bus downtime, keep the buses on the road, and keep the drivers confident. You'll have fewer road calls, fewer write-ups. And the other thing that we teach is, when the drivers are walking onto your bus, you look around. Don't, you see them, sometimes people will be staring at their cell phones. But if you look around, and this has saved us an awful lot, is the driver, like for bus, I think the other day, bus 111 calls up the garage in the morning and says, bus 111, the garage, to go ahead. There's nothing wrong with my bus, but bus 110 looks like it's got some kind of a puddle under it. Just thought you guys would want to know. So the driver of 110 didn't even show up to work yet because they didn't have to. Their bus left a little later. We were able to go out, and of course it was a broken clamp and it was antifreeze. So by that driver paying attention and letting us know, by the time the driver of 110 came to work, the bus was ready to go. That would have been either a subbed out bus or a road call. And then you've got your two mechanics out of the garage again. So by planning ahead and teaching drivers, to look around, pay attention, you might find body damage or a flat tire. We've had that happen where a driver will call in and just say, the bus next to me looks like it's got a flat tire. Well, that's a big savings. That's big. And if that driver's not due to come into work yet for that bus that's got the flat tire, that definitely saves dispatch, because now we have time to get this bus back up and running versus scrounging around trying to find a spare bus to give them. So let's go to the next one here. And you want to use your resources. In today's day, we've all got smartphones. You can take a video, you can post it to YouTube, and even if 5 people watch it, it gets everybody talking, and the word will spread. Cameras, we've all got them. Drones, we use them here at Shen. Your 24/7 and Scion systems, or whatever internal camera systems that you have on your buses. Use those as training tools. And the last thing I got here is don't wait for a safety meeting to explain this stuff. I mean, teach every day and keep the drivers right involved, because people want to know. And it definitely, it saves us an awful lot of the time. So does anybody have any questions or ideas or anything at all?
So Dan, I don't really have any questions. I don't know if you know me. I've got a little background in maintenance and fleet maintenance myself.
Yeah.
40 years in fleet maintenance, 15 years as a head mechanic. So
Right.
the one thing I feel that you really didn't mention was the most important piece, and that's safety, right? I mean, because maintenance promotes a good safe bus, a good safety program.
Yeah.
Your partnership with DOT, those kind of things. And while it does reduce the amount of road calls, the amount of unexpected maintenance, the biggest part of it is safety.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it is. It is definitely safety, as well as the other things that I spoke of. But yeah, safety is key as well. So, but by doing the communication and by having the drivers be understanding how everything works, safety goes right along with it. I guess I did not say that, but yeah, I think it was kind of implied that the safety is right in there with that. I mean, we want safe buses. We don't. That's the main thing we want. I mean, I have one of my videos is on the DEF gauge. I don't know if any of you are experiencing that, but the diesel exhaust fluid gauge is actually going way over full, and it's a malfunction in the descending unit, and by DOT to have it reprogrammed so that it won't derate, because of course a derating bus is a safety issue. So one of my videos actually explains all this, and I think the drivers know about, they're involved in all this stuff. But you're right, safety is key. Safety is a huge part of it.
Yeah, and a good open line of communication with the drivers is very important. As head mechanic, I greeted my drivers every day at the door, and got to know each one of them. Got to know the problems with their buses. They all knew their buses. You're right. It's absolutely important. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Anybody
he's
else?
not lying. He really was at that door every day, waiting for us to walk through.
It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference when a driver feels confident and comfortable around you and can come up and say, hey, actually in the hallway or anywhere, and just say, I have an issue. I think I have an issue with my bus. That's valuable, and it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of money. And like Mark was saying, it keeps the fleet safe. It is.
Okay, guys, I hate to wrap this up, but we just a couple more announcements, and I kind of want to keep us on track for time for everybody, for the respect of everybody's time today. Just a few housekeeping items that I wanted. I'm sorry. I should say thank you, Dan, for your presentation, and good job. And I appreciate you taking time from your schedule to present to our group today. So thank you very much for that.
No problem. Pleasure's mine.
Okay. So for the sake of time, I talk kind of fast, so I just want to get through a few things that I want to remind everybody to nominate the people for Employee of the Year, the 19A Certified Examiner, and SBDI scholarships that we have. Those nominations can be sent to Al Karam or Belinda Govich. We are looking for anybody interested in chairing the Operation Safe Stop Committee to reach out to any one of us on the board. It could be myself, it could be Belinda, or Claudine or Lisa. and reach out to us if anybody has any interest in being in with that. One other house cleaning item is to remind people that if you haven't sent in your membership dues, please do so. We are still waiting on those funds. And last, at the next meeting, I will give you guys, we have a board of directors meeting for the state level on December 10th and 11th. I'll be attending those meetings, and I will give you guys an update at the next meeting as to where we're at with things in the at the level at the state level. Do we have any questions, or anybody want to share any good news, or open the floor to our membership here?
I do have a question. I've been seeing some emails and some talk about some funding, federal funding. And I want to know if you guys have any experience with the ESSER and the gear funding, and will it pay for my sports trips? I know I can use it for MVA funding, but can I use it to reimburse my sports trips? I spent over 13,000 just with Yankee Trails this fall. And is there any reimbursement there? Has anybody got any experience? Okay. I guess it's for the bean counters. I had to ask them.
Okay.
I think I did include that in my state aid stuff that I did last year. For outside transportation, for contract transportation. Now, whether or not they actually got the state aid on it or not, I don't know, but we have to do our own here each year. And I just finished that like in September, I think. It was a little later than I thought, but that is something I think that I looked at, because we have quite a bit as well with that, and are continuing the same path this year. And I know another district just down the Northway from us does a lot of contract transportation like that too. So I won't mention any names, Al.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't have a choice. If you don't have drivers, you take what you can get. But I created a monster. Now all they want is Yankee Trails. They don't want to ride the school bus anymore.
Oh, so I guess I'm not gonna be able to call them because you got them all tied up. I'm not gonna tell you who I use.
Okay. But yeah, if I don't have Yankee Trails, I end up using a limo company, and they like that even better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of our preferred carriers too. Premier is, so.
Yeah.
For smaller buses especially. So, but yeah, it's a big budget item here.
Yeah.
If we can get the buses.
Yeah, and like I said, this just came out. It was on the NAPT news today, and so I was reading through it just before this meeting. So was curious if anybody had any experience with it.
Mhm.
That's all I got.
Okay, any other questions? Well, I would like to just take, a moment and just, we did lose a fellow colleague in this industry this past week from Burnt Hills, Boston Lake. Joe, obviously, you probably have all seen the news that he passed away. I just pulled it up. If anybody's interested in going to his services, they're going to be on Saturday, 1 to 4 at Townley and Wheeler Funeral Home in Boston Lake. I didn't know him very well myself, but I know he was well respected in this industry, and just wanted to take a moment because he was part of our team. So I think that might be about it. Anything else from anybody?
Jerry, I know Belinda had made mention about and sent an email out to people interested in attending the services, or at least attending the calling hours. Is there any sense of if people are going to join together and go in together or not?
I haven't logged that. I will ask Belinda to give a recap on that by tomorrow, to check our group email and see if she had any takers on that.
Jeff, I'm planning to get there probably closer to 2 o'clock if you're available then.
I'm planning on it. As long as my test comes back negative, I was planning on going, and I could probably be there around 2 as well.
Okay. I know John Myers had mentioned going around 2 o'clock also, so.
Okay, I can plan on that, Pete.
Okay.
You can just pick me up at my house on the way up the Northway, okay?
Okay,
Pete, I'll text you and let you know where I stand with this test thing.
okay,
Who's
great.
John Myers?
Yeah, who is he? Who is that guy?
Okay, guys, so I think it's time to wrap up. Hope you all have a great day and weekend and enjoy the holiday. And we will see you next month. Look for the email that we'll put out for if you're gonna RSVP and attend in person. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Great presentations, Pete and Dan.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
Good day. Have a nice holiday.
Bye.